All right, let's go over Oyster Bay. A lot of changes to this map. This used to be just a tunnel, but now on the right-hand side, there has been added this little hold-on, a safety area where you can peek towards the hold-on position that the enemy team gets. I know it's hold-on for hold-on, but for just a heavy fight, that is of course a good thing to have. Safety in the middle means you can push up a little bit, get closer, get some shots, and not be exposed the whole way down. That's a good change. And then second of all, there has been a tunnel added here. Of course, you see as well that this tunnel features hold down positions on right and left hand side. Narrow gaps, so only one by one going through it, but you are able to push back towards this and come from this side as well. Also, importantly, you can dip into this when you drive here without receiving damage when you are inside of it, because you know you can just drive down into this and you're safe. This position here was also added for Oyster Bay, another hold down that you can play. However, with this hold down, when you're peeking it, you have to be careful because the shot line from over there and potentially I think from the balcony there, if you go too far, is possible. So that shot line still exists. You have to be careful from that. But in return though, a lot of shot lines have been removed on this map. If you're the North team and you're coming to this position, you can get shot by the TDs. But before that, there have been rocks added in this entire area. I think these rocks were enlarged as well. The lower part here was added. The bunkers were added. The hold-on position here was added. That rock was added. So the TDs are no longer able to snipe you the long way. If you do happen to push out though, the shot line does exist again. Another change on Oyster Bay is this area here. It is now in a bit of a low ground. This will help the light tank player that wants to play these bushes and also the secondary bush on the left, which I don't think was there either. But definitely the low ground getting added for both of those sides. I think on that part of the map, it is as well the same thing for the light tank. This improves light tank gameplay. I think that's a good change. There's some hills added, some positions that you can run away. If the light tank is not smart and sits there, he will just die. That is pretty huge for both these sides. And it seems like in the middle here, right, this hill also getting added. So another big change that is for light tanks, actually creating more space for them. They used to have only really one bush they can go to, but now with these map changes, they're able to do a lot more. And then, of course, we have this area of the map here also getting changed. You're still open here for the shot, but what has changed quite dramatically here is that you are now basically unable to get shot. The TD lines have been removed for the majority to get to position here where an onslaught would be the RD strike. Of course, if you then want to push out of this, you can get shot by the TDs again. And from the other side, a similar story. But you can always go to, for example, here and then start pushing up without ever really getting into TD fire. Overall, this is a good change for the mediums that want to play this side, the heavies that want to play this side, because they are now able to actually take engagements against each other without constantly getting hit from the back positions by the enemy team. And I would say overall, Oyster Bay is a map that I have banned, but I may unban it after this, as I think this is a general improvement for light tanks, heavy tanks, and medium tanks. Although from light tanks, it is less so, as the TD angles get shut down, they will be picking up less assists. But overall, I will say Wargaming did a good change here. Making more of the map playable is not a bad thing whatsoever. Here on Mannerheim Line, there are big changes as well. This area is completely the same, but then if we move towards the southern side, this has been changed. You can see it pretty clearly. There's a few things that have gotten changed. The water slope apparently has been reduced as well, meaning that you can do, for example, this really easily and no longer slide down and drown. That is one of the first things. The position here is the same as before, but here the real changes start. So before, there were some dunes you couldn't really hide behind. You were either playing this position or the back position, but now another sort of area has been added. So if you're playing this position and you see that there's too many enemy tanks and you're alone, you could fall back to defensive position number 1, which is a more of a hold-on position here. Not the greatest though, but you can bring the enemies in one by one, for example. This also makes it easier for the Eastern team to effectively push this. For the Western team, it will be a more safe approach if people want to drive through here, that they don't get shot by the TDs over there. The secondary thing that you can now do on this map is you can actually drive alongside the water. It's not that deep, it's not that steep, it's very possible. Really not that hard. The skill climb through the water has been basically removed. you no longer are able to do that whatsoever. And then you go into this area again where the Western team can set up defensive. Honestly, this is probably a better position because from this position, you shut down anybody trying to go further. The one thing you will see here is that this is basically now the only RD safe position. Every other position that was RD safe before is pretty much RD open, so there should be more RD damage coming out. And then this has been reworked as well. There's a small position here that you can sit on. Again, alongside all of this, you can move with a tank, just like for information. You can just like go in the water. It's really not that deep. The only deeper part is right here, where you are in the water for a few seconds, but again, not nearly as difficult as the water climb before. So overall, it may be possible for either team to push this out. The only issue I see is that it might be harder to hold. Before, you could hold on the position at the front. With 2 tanks, you could hold off 5 or 6. Now, I don't know if this is going to be possible anymore. The secondary small change is that the position there, the rock has been made bigger because there was a gap in between the rocks where you could shoot from. That is no longer possible. The rock at F4 was changed a little bit. It gets less good shots and it has to peek out more. This area has been made lower, facilitates the light tank more, has more safety when you're playing a light or medium in this area to spot the crossing. You could even get some shots, for example. And it's just a little bit easier to play against the light tank over there. This is a good change. Facilitates the gameplay a little bit more. This rock has been heavily extended, so even when falling back, you don't get farmed by the position at G4. And then another change on this map, but this is a minor change, IMO, is that the dragon teeth here have been removed, so it's easier for you to drive through. One final change, which is probably the best one, funny enough, is that the bushes here have been pushed closer to the red line. Now, what this does is it eliminates more of the double bush potential. Although if you knock over the trees, well, you can still probably make it happen. There's a lot of trees that you can shoot outside of the red line even. It hasn't really changed much, but what has changed is since they're closer to the red line, peeking to this side has become a lot harder to do, because now you will be looking through the bush, so you have to make actually a good camo spot if you want to make this work. That's it for Mannerheim Line. Get that out. I have to see how the south plays out, but it seems like it's more of a casual playable area, where before it wasn't so easy to play, so it might be a good thing. Alrighty boys, now on steps. It was listed by Wargaming as minor changes, however I can tell you that they are not very minor whatsoever. First off, there is a removal of this bush here. However, this bush was added, so you can still kinda play towards here, but it's not very effective. So the TD position here was removed together with the bushes on the top. As much as I like this, I think it's a little bit much. I understand that they're now like trying to remove a bit of the TD angles that are sometimes an issue, but leaving just one bush or one bush more in the open where it's hard to play behind would already increase this, because now this position is gone, but also the position on the top has been removed. Now what this does, of course, is that the TDs no longer have an effective line of fire without getting spotted, which for them is not always the easiest to play. At the same time, that bush is gone, which was a very annoying bush. In H3 there is a new rock, and Wargaming's goal there is mirroring the rock at F2. So I don't know about this rock. It's an interesting one. I don't know how much this really does or can shoot, but you can hide behind it at least, and may become a popular TD position, because of course you will get a shot on the crossing still. Now this is not a minor change IMO. There's a massive rock now there, so you are still open on the crossing. Apparently you can drive over this, I've been told, and then up, but we'll see about that. That's kind of exposed. That doesn't really seem worth it. So when you cross this area in a heavy, medium, or whatever, you end up in this area here. Now, if you remember, when you cross this gap, you used to be able to get shot by that position. No longer is that the case. You will be able to take up this area yourself, fight the guys on the low side, and then farm this corner hole down. And push away the enemy. Now, however, this area is playable for both tanks without gun depression and tanks with gun depression, which is a very good thing, because of course both tanks want to be facilitated here. You can play, for example, this little rock here if you don't have gun depression and play against them, protecting your track, but you can also push up towards the corner and then play without gun depression. Now from the other side, it's kind of the same, right? You have the position here where you don't really need gun depression, and then on the left hand side you have more gun depression heavy positions. The good thing is, about this change is that normally the north side doesn't really challenge 1-2 because the positions don't do anything. You go there and you're not able to really shoot anything. Well, from the south hand side, you were able to go to the corner and push the corner back, push the bush back, and play from that point on. So this change overall is massive for this map. And you also have like hold on positions that you can play. You have a defensive position here that you can go behind and get covered if the enemy team does want to push you. So overall, this is an interesting layout. I want to see how it plays out. In return for this rock, this position has been made stronger. What do I mean with this? This rock wasn't there. So now you have the bush, which was also moved, by the way. Like this whole rock was kind of moved from what it was. The bush was more here, so you cannot sit unspotted towards these guys. But in return, you do get a full rock to hide behind, at least towards the base, not towards 1-2 line. So big changes overall for this map, even though Wargaming says it's minor. Plus sides, less TD fire. Downsides, less TD positions to play. Plus side, again, a lot more playable area for both mediums and heavies, where they can actually challenge 1-2 line instead of not playing it at all. Now, on Lakeville, not too much was changed, but still, again, TD positions are being attacked. IMO, this is not nearly enough for Lakeville, as this map has bigger issues than the bush that was here. The bushes here have been removed, so no more TD fire into the valley, which wasn't really that effective anyways, but either way. Then these areas here, the bush is still here, but the areas in front have been lowered. So this is lower now compared to before. Not the major gameplay impact whatsoever, but just to point out. And then of course there's one more change that was added, which is kind of weird, but at the same time understandable, because the north side has the better 1-2 line, which means that they have added a new position in K2, which are these bushes, double bushing towards that. That's pretty obvious. So that's a new position that was added. Very minor stuff on Lakeville. Overall, good changes, I would say, but not nearly enough. The city is the part that really needs a rework, in my opinion. Now on Tundra, it may be the map that only gets one change, but such a massive change for Tundra. If you remember, when you're driving through this area, there was the shot opportunity from the northern base, which was a really bad game design. You used to get shot on this crossing for free, and now they have added a massive rock in that area. And why is this a good thing? Well, one, the shots get eliminated towards the hill, where the fight should break out, so no annoyance for the player to get shot where he can't do anything about it. But also, the northern team may now be sending less tanks to that position and more to the hill where they could be fighting it out. This is such a minor thing, but IMO is such a huge quality of life thing for players playing this map from the south. They no longer get shot by a position they can't counter. Yes, this makes everything a little bit more casual, but all in all, the more casual it is, the better. That is the player base that needs to be catered to the most, the casual player. So really, really good change.